Hello, my fellow Lonely Trollops. I did not know exactly how apt that was going to be when I started following Steve on his read along of the standalone novels of Anthony Trollope in the year 2020. It's definitely a year of loneliness, of lone, of social isolation. I'm not going to expound upon that. I hope that you will consult the local medical and governmental officials in your area and take them serious, take them very, very serious, and listen to what they have to say. Uh, Try not to touch your face, uh, and go from there. But yes, we are doing the Lonely Trollops. This month, we are doing The Way We Live Now, an 1875 novel set in a very contemporary novel when it was written in Victorian London, talking about kind of the corruption of society, which results in some great financial downturns. And this is a novel that is kind of excoriating on that society and how that occurred. And all I want to do right now is itch my nose. So yes, we're going from chapters 61 to 80, which is LXI. Lady Monogram prepares for the party to LXXX 80. Ruby prepares for service. I should know my Roman numerals, but I sometimes it's a good idea if I write them down so I don't flub it on the camera. In this section, I just want to talk about, I guess, the penny drop. I think I find for myself when I'm reading Trollope, I'll go, oh, I'm enjoying it. It's kind of going along. And then suddenly at a point in the novel, probably because of exactly how dim I am, it's sort of like, oh, it kind of crystallizes, it gels. And it's like, oh, this is what Trollope was getting along to. This is obviously my first read of this. So it's taken me this, chapter 60 to 80. I feel like, oh, it's kind of crystallized for me. And I thought a lot about in this section about that maybe the parents in this book really deserve their children. And they're all adult children, so they're, as adults, even the females who are treated like children and are still kind of seem to be legally under the control, at least socially, at least under the control of their parents. Children are responsible for their own actions, but at the same time, I get the feel like maybe these parents shouldn't be too dismayed, shouldn't be too surprised that their children kind of turned out this way. Exhibit number one, Lady Carberry and Felix. Steve has actually expressed a lot of affection for Lady Carberry. I have a hard time with that because I really feel like Felix came from somewhere, and yes, they're probably his departed father, who sounds like he was a piece of work as well. But I feel like she is the great enabler of this adult man-child, and his, especially in this section, his freaking horrendous behavior. But he is ruining the whole family, and I think what really sparked my slight anger, a little bit of a rage read there in this section, is that when Hedda comes to her daughter who is also being ruined by Felix's spending and gambling and drinking and just general wastrelness, when Hedda comes to her and says, "Oh, I want to be with Paul Montague," she's like, no, you can't do that. Your brother has done all these horrible things. So it's up to you. You have to do the good stuff. You have to marry sensibly, and you can't do anything because it's your responsibility to be good because Felix is being so shitty. It's like, yes, it's like I did not like Lady Carberry in that moment, and it was just another thing of like, yes, not only are you going to sacrifice yourself to your son, you are also quite happy to throw your daughter on the bonfire as well. Yes, deep breaths. At least I can rage about this and vent about this and versus other things in the world. I also think about in this section of the Longstaffs with especially probably the father. You have, Dolly Longstaff does not have any affection for his father, and you get the sense that his father has been pretty much a selfish guy who's only particularly cared about himself. So Dolly's like, no, the half of this is mine. I want my money. I'm gonna get my own lawyer, the wonderful Spearcom, to come in and get my money, and screw you, old man, if this is going to hurt you. And he doesn't, who would care about Melmont, but his own father, it's sort of like he's bringing his father to ruin. And in some ways it's funny because in the Duke's Children, Dolly is also appears in the Palliser novels. This is all connected universe. We're all connected universe in the Palliser novels. He's such a dolt, but in here he plays very much hardball with his father, and I was also like, yeah, I don't know why have we given Melmont our house and the deed, and he's allowed him to mortgage it to the hilt, where we haven't actually gotten our money yet. And is actually like, oh, he's actually being semi smart, at least that way in here. And you have Georgina, who is like, okay, my family is sinking. I'm stepping off the sinking ship. I'm going to go marry this banker, this Jewish banker. The Jewish part being to the great horror of the horribly anti-Semitic Longstaffs and the society in general, basically, of like, oh God, our daughter will be known to have married a Jew. Oh my God. And it's so, it's all that stuff. But, she's very much doing this for selfish calculations. We'll get to how the selfish calculations go later on. But it's like, yeah, these are two children that have been not nurtured in a selfish family. And so when the chips are down, they're like, yeah, Dolly's like, I want my money, and Georgina's like, well, I think I can do better over here. So see ya, suckers. It's like there's that sort of thing. And then there's Mr. Melmont and Marie, she may be a piece of work, but she's exactly the kind of piece of work that you wish upon someone like Melmont. He had signed over monies and stuff to her for safekeeping, just in case the law came down on him, so it would be safe over there when she was younger and very malleable. But now she's like, oh, wait a minute, I can use this for myself. It can be for my stuff. And when he's like, oh God, I need that money right now to keep all my juggling, because he's a constant juggler. I just keep enough balls in the air, and I'll get through this next thing. I'll get through this next thing. There's also just the wonderful psychology of like, he's risen to this position of MP, and it's like, well, he knows that the crash is going to come. He knows that he's going to get it's going to all fall. This house of cards is going to fall. But he's like, yeah, but I've risen to here. They'll always know that I rose to here, which is like, I love that kind of psychology of what kind of accomplisher, somebody who's always just one step ahead of the law. That's how I can see how someone like that could survive living their life that way. He's such a great character that way. But yes, that his daughter is like, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. She's quite happy. Like, yeah, if you go down, that's fine. I'm going to have my money and stuff. So it's like, yet again, it's a parent who is, this is the child you've raised, and you reap what you sow, I guess. And I mean, we can also just go into kind of but there's a thing also in here of just like responsibility of how much people will let each other get away with. There's the stuff like with Aheda and Paul Montague, and just, she's like, she really, really doesn't want to believe that he's had taken up with another woman, with Miss Hurdle, Miss Hurdle, but when she finds out, you can tell she's like, I think what she was attracted to in Paul Montague was actually someone who was going to care about her. And when she finds out, well, like, oh, maybe I'm just sort of a way station. It's like, well, you go to her. I still think they're going to get together and stuff like that. But then you get like, you get Felix and Ruby, where, this is, you really shows you Felix in a nutshell. He basically tries to rape her. It's a sexual assault, which gloriously gets stopped by John Crumb, and he gets there's a little bit of like, oh good, he got punched out. He didn't die. He's probably just going to have his face a little messed up. Maybe probably he'll heal up and be just fine again. But he got a little bit of comeuppance there. But it's like that's an interesting thing of because Ruby ends up taking his side when John Crumb beats him up. She says to the cops, "Oh no, this guy assaulted me, assaulted John Crumb assaulted Felix for no good reason." It's like that kind of like, oh, you're gonna let him go, let him get away with it again, Felix. Felix is skating by yet again. And there's an interesting thing of just like John Crumb is just like Ruby can do anything, and he's just like, I'm always going to take her. It's love is blind, I guess, or it's kind of the true heart of this kind of a lower class character. I mean, he's shown as very simple, but very kind of um, determined in his love. I mean, I Ruby is obviously we seem to be set up because at the end she's like, oh, we're gonna try and find you an actual job, and she's like, oh, all these jobs really suck. And in the end, she's like, okay, maybe I should go find John Crumb. It's like there's the selfish calculation, which maybe is a part of all love, no matter how pure, there's always a little bit of calculation there. I mean, sometimes it's calculation, sometimes it's just like, look, we live in two different worlds, we're of two different economic status, it's not going to work as a relationship. But I mean, Trollope is definitely seems to be showing in this thing there's considerations to be made. And I mean, in Lady Carberry's defense, she's probably also worried about her daughter marrying someone who's relatively penniless. She thinks is probably going to be completely ruined because of this railway stuff is all just going to dissolve into nothingness. And she'll have married someone without any money. And like, is that going to be a good thing for her? So maybe I should be a little less hard on Lady Carberry, even though just how much she just wants to enable Felix. Just it just always it's gonna get me. And oh, Georgina, the Georgina and Mr. Bregert, the Jewish banker. And she's perfectly willing to get to him when the second that she finds out that, oh, he's still gonna be wealthy, but he's not gonna have that house in London. She's like, well, you better have a house in London for me. Maybe you should sacrifice something for your children or something like that. It's like it's like a really nasty part of her selfishness. And Mr. Burghardt, because like Trollope is somebody who's complicated on the matter of Jewish people. There are some parts of him that I do think he is of his time. There's that anti-Semitism. But Mr. Burghardt here, there's a couple of lovely scenes where like he goes into, I can't remember, I think he comes to a sort of a party and nobody talks to him. And he just stands there in the corner and he sits. And Trollope kind of just observes that. And he stands there and he walks out. And we don't get any interiority, but you can feel that like, hi, I'm the other in this situation. Nobody's talking to me. I stay and I go. And I mean, Burghardt in this book, he talks he is actually a plain, honest person in a book full of liars and people who are only out for they're disinterested, their own interest. You have what could be seen as like the ultimate stereotype. It's like a Jewish banker is somebody who's like, no, I'm going to talk plainly. This is where we're at. Even he doesn't even profess love, which pisses off Georgina. She wanted a little bit of that illusion, even though she knows it's bullshit illusion. But he says like, no, there's not love. This is my financial situation. If you're still interested. And she's like, she makes these demands and he's like, all right, thank you and goodbye. And that's it. And she's like, crap. But she's tossed back. And so now she's scuttling back to the sinking ship because it's the only ship she has. So yeah, it's I love this interconnection. I love all the parallels. I think that's the thing that like, oh, all these stories, they're all building together into one big story of this society. And it's like that unification thing is quite the thrill in an Anthony Trollope novel. So I will leave it there. The way we live now. More videos later.